to the first of our Legends podcasts. Today we're exploring the themes of football, music and hair. Yes, hair. Everyone's got it, or they haven't, which is something we're going to get onto shortly. We've got three experienced experts here in each of those fields: Alan Hudson, Dr. Voice and Mark Birch. Alan Hudson is one of the greatest footballers this country has ever produced. Once seen, never forgotten. He enjoyed a sparkling career with Chelsea, Stoke City, Arsenal, Seattle Sounders in America, and he played against and alongside some of the biggest footballing icons in history: George Best, Bobby Moore, Franz Beckenbauer, to include just a few. He also played for England, but not nearly enough, and that is something I'm sure we'll touch upon when we have a little chat about our World Cup prospects. Dr. Voice, you may have guessed, is a world-renowned voice coach, helping people transform their speaking and singing skills for over 40 years. He coached Sam Smith and has worked with many of the world's singing superstars, including Pixie Lott, George Michael and the Bee Gees. More recently, he helped Alfie Draper, who lives with cerebral palsy, achieve his singing ambitions. Finally, Mark Birch, one of the world's leading trichologists, also with 40 years of experience in hair and scalp care. Mark believes he can successfully treat baldness in men and women and has thousands of highly satisfied clients to testify to this. His customers include members of the royal families of the Middle East, footballers and musicians. It's not all been plain sailing for Mark, so much so that his extraordinary life is poised to become a feature film. I'm Martin Knight and I've written a few books. Good afternoon everyone. On this very hot day we're all glad, sad or indifferent about the resignation of our Prime Minister. I watched it but couldn't hear very well because some idiot was playing Ode to Joy on a gramophone in Downing Street, drowning him out. Mark, how are you?
Hello Martin, how are you?
You obviously don't have a problem with baldness.
No, thank goodness.
No.
I mean,
would you like to just quickly tell us how you put this together?
Well, funny enough, Martin, I was at a wedding a couple of months ago, and as usual, I arrived late because of busy schedule. I've been on television and radio, media work in America, in Scandinavia, in the Middle East. Yeah. And I arrived late, and a cousin of mine, there wasn't enough tables available, so I said, we'll fit you in. So I was sitting on the bride's family table, and while I was there, nobody knew me, and obviously introduction, and just said, what do you do? And I said, well, I just deal in hair. And then they said, well, tell us what you do. So I just said, I'm hair and scalp specialist, and that was it. The conversation for the next hour on the wedding table was all about hair and growing people's hair, and my aunt's losing his hair and anything else. And the next biggest thing that came to the table was obviously talking about football and who do you support and where do you live. I said, well, I was brought up in Shepherd's Bush, and half the family supports Queen's Park Rangers and the other supports Chelsea. And then I went outside and was talking to people, and it was non-stop talking about music and the various songs that are coming on. And I just thought to myself, this is crazy. You've got hair, football and music are three of the world's most universally discussed subjects. And two of my great friends, are icons in the world of football. It's basically what hasn't been hasn't been said is not worth saying about Alan Hudson or Dr. Voice. So a few days later, I got on the phone to Alan and said, what about if we put a podcast together with football, Alan? He said, Mark, it's a lovely idea, I'm in. And then I spoke to Doc and he said, yes, Mark, that's lovely, let's do it. So I thought, okay, it's a bit of fun. We can all get together. And then I just thought, well, who's going to present this? And I just thought, well, another very good author of mine, Martin Knight, would be perfect for matching this and bringing us all together. Be a nice mix, a nice blend. And people have got a lot of interest.
You've got nothing to do here, do it.
Yeah. So this is where we all came together. Yeah.
Alan, you were one of the key figures on the King's Road back in the day, in the 60s or the 70s mainly. You must have met a few hairdressers in your time.
Loads.
Any other big names?
They were everywhere, weren't they? My main one was up in Sloane Square. My brother found him. He used to clean his windows. I was with him for 50 years. He was great fun.
David, was his name David?
No, Stephen.
Stephen, I think I met him once with you.
I think he cut your hair in 1936, didn't he?
He cut it too short. What about Vidal Sassoon? Did you ever come across him?
Yes, I think I did once. Didn't he cut Ozzy's hair once?
Yeah, there's a famous photograph of him cutting Peter Osgood's hair.
Yeah. And then I went up to Stoke. By the time I got to Stoke, I was introduced to a great gentleman. He'd become a great friend. He was the captain of the English hairdressing team. His name was John Belfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a captain of the England, and he used to get the people together. They used to go on tour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's true. He's got had all the certificates and all that.
Right.
So I don't know.
What about you, Dr. Voice? Have you had any hair connections?
Well, yes, of course. You're always looking at having your hair done in the best place you could find that suits what you want to look like, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of TV and stuff. I always wanted to make sure I was clean and my hair was good. And I do it now with Mark's products. Right. He doesn't cut my hair, Mark, but I don't think it needs cutting. I'm just letting it go.
Yeah.
Because his products are making it fluff. Huh?
It's a fine head of hair.
Yes, thanks to Mark. I started this a year ago with Mark, and I was losing my hair.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on, why is the hair falling? And he said, oh, you've got the... And then when I met him, we met at a dinner, and he said, with a friend of ours, and he said that, look, you need this, and that was it. The rest is history. I've been using these products ever since and telling everybody about it because it's brilliant what he does.
Brilliant. Alan, going back to you a minute. One of your teammates had a connection to hair. Can you remember who that was? No, seriously.
Well, we had. It's very. Footballer's life can be very. Get the waking up in every morning, going to work into a dressing room with a load of drunken comedians is quite something. And we used to have John Dempsey used to have the most horrid haircut. We used to call him Max Wall.
I'm thinking, Alan, of David Webb.
He was a hairdresser.
He had a wig shop. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, did he? He had a Rolls Royce shop.
He had a Rolls Royce. Did he have a Rolls Royce shop?
Well, you never knew with David what he had. If you had it, he had two of them.
Well, he definitely had one wig shop. Dr. Voice. So obviously, Dr. Voice isn't your real name. Do we call that's Anthony Wade? Do we call you Anthony or Tony?
Anthony's fine, or Doc. People call me Doc for short. It gets it off the tongue quick.
I'll call you Doc.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm going to call you Doc.
Thank you, Alan.
How did you? Well, tell us a bit about yourself, Doc. Where you were born, where you grew up, and how you got in the game you're in.
I was born in Chatham in Kent. My local football team was Gillingham.
Oh yeah.
And I used to frequent Gillingham Football Club quite frequently because my father was the announcer of the team change announcing, and he used to play all the music to all the footballers before, midway and before the match starts. So I used to hang out and meet all the people, all the footballers, and I was able to get a really good seat. And so I emigrated to Australia. That was when I was up to I was 17, and at 17 I decided to go to Australia. Went to
a £10 pom?
£10 assisted passage.
Yeah.
And while I was on the £10 assisted passage, I met this beautiful woman. She was called the Duchess. She comes from New Zealand. And I thought, oh, she's beautiful. Anyway, next minute, I end up with her. By luck, I don't know how. And we had a romance on the boat. So I wanted to show off to her because my family come from music. My brother was in Jesus Christ Superstar and Hair, and he was famous. And of course, my uncle was Ronnie Verrill, the drummer, who plays the Muppets in the Muppets.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's the animal in the Muppets.
Yeah,
and he took me to see Tom Jones record It's Not Unusual when I was 16. So all this was the musical influence. So I thought I was musical. So on the boat on the way, I want to show off to my girlfriend. So there she was, the Duchess with her dad, 2,000 people in the audience, and I was asked would I like to sing this song, and I looked at it and I thought I knew it. So I went up and I started to sing, and as I started to sing, out came Chewbacca. Out come this horrible sound. I thought, I can't sing. This devastated me. She, the girlfriend, looked at me and went, didn't want to know me. That was it. So the rest of the journey I hid in the cabin until I got to Perth, Western Australia. And I thought, why can't I sing? And it really annoyed me. So it wasn't until, while I was in Perth, I get an email, par Avon in those days, from my brother saying, the Bee Gees are in Perth. Maurice Gibb knows you're there. Go and see him at the White Sands Hotel in Perth. So I thought, okay. So I phone up the White Sands Hotel. Maurice Gibb comes on. Hi, Maurice Gibb. They just had big hits, all over the world, just Saturday Night Fever. And he said to me, where are you? I said, I'm home. He said, I'll send a limousine round. This limousine picks me up, takes me to the hotel where the Bee Gees are. And I end up in this room, big suite, with just Maurice. I'd met the others, but I sat there in this suite with just Maurice, and I spoke to him. And I sat there, and he spoke to me for 12 hours about his life. And out come all these incredible things about his life and his journey and what he does and how the Bee Gees started, all this stuff. And I was so blown away with this. Yeah. I was sitting there, I thought, why is he telling me all this? So he got up after 12 hours, came over to me and hugged me with a tear in his eyes, and he says, you've just changed my life. I said, why? He said, because you listen to me. I go on tour everywhere. No one gets to hear or feel what we go through individually, and you just let me have it all out. It was so cathartic. It was so wonderful. You let me spill the beans. So he said, I'm going to do you a favour. I said, what? You're coming on stage tonight. I said, what? He said, you're coming on stage to sing with us at the Subiaco Oval in front of 33,000 people. I said, no, I can't sing. He says, you're coming. Yes, you can. He thought I could sing because my brother was a great singer. So I ended up going on stage, 33,000 people, and I said to the guy on the microphone, turn my mic off. Because I know when I'd sing it was going, staying alive. I knew that was what was going to be happening. So I was devastated. So anyway, come off the stage, I'm signing autographs all the way back to the limousine. And I think, what's going on? And then I went back to the hotel. The next day, I was back in my job. Bee Gees left Perth. I was back in my job, bending metal. Yeah. That was my job in a factory. Yeah. And this guy came up to me and he said, yeah, mate, did you see the Bee Gees on telly last night? He said, look, I got a photograph of Barry getting in the limousine. Look. And he showed me this photograph of Barry Gibb getting in the limousine. Well, it wasn't Barry Gibb. It was the back of my head. It was me getting in the limousine. Yeah. So what can I tell this guy? So it was then I decided I'm going to do music. So I started to study everything I could on a guitar. I studied everything I could on a piano. And you know, Alan, and you know, Mark, and I know you, Martin, know this fact. For progress and growth, you have to really, really focus and be concentrated. And that, if there's anything in a message in that, it's the truth. No one gets anywhere without real focus and real concentration on their art form or their talent or whatever it is they own. So I focused for 3 years, and people were coming up to me saying, you can't sing. After 3 years, I ended up singing at the Albert Hall, Pulitzer Medal of Sport, and Michael Bolton.
Right.
And I remember turning around all of my singing teachers on that stage saying, you know,
Yeah. You done it.
who said I could never ever sing again. And I ended up singing. And then I took this knowledge and put it together, and I found a way of getting people to truly come alive in their sound. Because like Mark, sound is a frequency. Hair is a frequency, isn't it, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so hair grows through frequency. Every one of us are a frequency of some form. We are all frequencies. Einstein discovered this. So the sound we make is a frequency. That's a frequency. So when you get good at understanding how frequencies work, with Alan, his frequencies, watching someone pass a ball, watching someone dart in there, and in his brain, he deals in his talent, he pulls on the frequencies of what to do actionably to make that football thing work, you know. And so everything is frequency. So when I realized that, I started to wake up the frequencies in people through the power of the voice and communication and through singing. And it was then I realized I had this ability to touch and change people's lives through the power of the voice.
Brilliant. It's very interesting. Before I pass over to Alan, what was the first single you ever bought with your own money?
Who, me?
Dr. Voice.
Oh, me? Oh, well, the band that I met, who came to my father's big ballroom, and I had to open the curtains for them. And I was 10, and I was opening the curtains for them. It was the Beatles singing "She Loves You." Yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
So I went off and bought "She Loves You."
Fantastic. Alan, what was the first single you ever bought?
Don't know. All I can remember is when I was in, when we lived in the prefab just off the King's Road. I remember saying to my mother, I used to find out whenever the Beatles album was coming out.
Yeah.
And we used to go and queue in the little record shop at the World's End in the King's Road. And my mum would walk along with me. I was only 10, something like that, 8, 9, 10. And we'd make sure I think it was the first one we walked up and got was Rubber Soul.
Yeah, that was a good album. What about you, Mark? What was the first single you ever bought? Can you remember?
Yeah, it was I Just Can't Help Believing Elvis. I think that was that was the first one I ever bought. Yes, I used to like all the music of the 60s and the 70s. Yeah.
My first one was a thing, no one would remember it, called Semi-Detached Suburban Mr. James by Manfred Mann. It was a load of rubbish. I don't know why.
I do remember that song. Yeah, that was an interesting song.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think it had a lot of words in the title. I thought I'd get more value for money. Right, Mark, getting on to you. You've got a few music connections, haven't you? Mark?
Yes. Well, I've been very fortunate, you know. Yes, well, Adam Faith used to live across the road in the flats. Mum used to have the hairdressing salon. When I'm a twin, when Martin and I were born, we used to live above the hairdressing salon, and Adam Faith's mother used to come into the salon. Round the corner we had Roger Daltrey, Percy Road, and then up the road we had Carol White, Kathy Come Home, Paul Cow, who was Frank Sinatra's girlfriend, and she was for some time. And then so we had quite a few celebrities around Shepherd's Bush, the Askey Road, when we were born in 1960. As Mum used to have the hairdressing salon, and that's where it all started for me. I used to just come home.
Tell us about how you. Obviously, you know your mum had the hairdressers, but how did you get into what you're doing now? How did that evolve?
Well, that was really my mother, because I was very fortunate. It's in the DNA really, because say when I was a little boy, I used to come home from school, and we used to have to come through the front door of the hairdressers, we didn't used to go round the back because there was a big dog round there. And I used to always stop behind the reception desk. Martin used to run upstairs, and the hair just...
Martin was your twin brother?
Martin was my twin brother, yes. I used to just love seeing all the ladies underneath the big hair dryers, like big spaceships in those days, with all the different types of hairstyles, Americans, the bouffants, you know, the geometric haircuts, and the smell of the ammonia, and why everybody had blue hair under the hairdryer. You know, it was just with the blue rinses in them days. Everybody seemed to have a blue rinse. And father wanted me to be a football player because I was quite a fast runner, nowhere near the standard of Alan, by the way, but I was quite a fast runner. Yeah. And then basically I was, obviously, as a kid, didn't have much money in those days, but his mum was always just go out and play, go to the park. So it was just give you a football up the park, and that's where that all came about. And then later on, the football didn't expire, and
you got picked up.
Yes, I was. I did. I had 2 or 3 teams watching me at one stage, but the main team was Tottenham came to watch me, and they spoke to my dad and said, "Oh, would Mark like to come and train at Spurs?" He said, "Well, that's up to him." And I ended up going there when I was a teenager after school. And as it was in my father's element in those days, having his son playing in the junior teams for a professional football club. And then
the manager, you're telling me the manager of that youth team with an old Spurs, one of the double winning side.
Yeah, that was Ron Henry. He played in the old 1960-61 double winning team. He was our manager. But for me, really, more than anything else, it was just the running. I mean, I just loved to run. I mean, where the ball was, I was like a magnet. I just liked to be anywhere where the ball was. A bit like what Alan in the midfield.
Yeah. So who was in that crop? Who was in that age group that you played alongside?
In that pool of players was people like Peter Southey, who played in the first team. Later on, he was picked up playing for the Cubs in Putney. There was Mark Falco, Mickey Hazard came along. Some of the old players. All the old players were there when I was there in that age. And then later on, I got the discipline. Sorry.
They let you go. Not obviously.
Yes. Then it's quite sad. I came home. Yeah, I came home one day. I was. I think I was. I was more devastated for my father than anything else. But it was okay. So my attention and fascination's always been with hair from a very small boy anyway. So that was an immediate step straight into that. And I went in. My mum, fortunately, knew one of the most famous hair gurus in the world at that time, a gentleman called Kenneth Price. He was chairman of the Institute of Tricolours, chairman of the ethics committees, president of the whole of age. He was the biggest hair man in the world. And I was very fortunate. I was his apprentice. I was his understudy. So he taught me everything. And I worked in all aspects. I've been an international trichologist. I've travelled all over the world. I've had my own television, radio shows, and I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of celebrities and captains of industry and royalty and people like this. I mean, hair's got a massive impact on everybody. It makes us look good. Good hair is sexy. Everybody's image and identity. I've treated lots and lots of football players and sportsmen, and lots of rock stars and musicians and people.
Can you tell us any of their names?
Well, there's a few on the website.
I was just going to say, I'd have thought you'd have been around that time. You mentioned QPR. I remember my mate is Don Shanks. He met Billy Ocean through QPR, and I think Mama Cass as well through going to QPR. But thinking of yourself with the hair, it would have been good if you would have bumped into and been his best mate. But maybe if you were a Watford supporter or he was a QPR supporter, with Elton
John,
he would have needed you more than anybody, wouldn't he?
Well, quite a few people in those days, Alan. Yes, I mean, if you look at the TV today, you'll see 22 players in the Premier League. In any team, you can see, Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal playing Crystal Palace. You won't see one ball player because identity and image is everything, and everything starts with the hair. It's number one feel-good factor, isn't it? So, it's a massive impact on all of this.
when I was watching Alan play when I was young,
I saw his hairstyles.
I can remember the footballers used to hide their baldness, and the ones that had gone bald by doing the comb over. Remember
That's right.
Bobby Charlton and a guy called Ralph Coates. Was it Ralph Coates?
Yeah.
He was a
Yes.
But can you remember the first one?
First one I remember is Bobby Charlton.
No, the third Bobby Charlton had Dodgy Barnett. First one who actually shaved his hair.
Terry Mancini?
No.
Shaved his hair. Terry
Derek
Henderson?
Dugan.
Oh, he did. He did, yeah. Completely bald.
You see photos of Derek Dugan at Wolverhampton Wanderers. I played against Derek when he had his shaving head. Actually.
Didn't he do it as a protest?
It might have been something to do with Ireland.
I think it was something to do with wages, footballers' wages.
Well, it might have been. He was PFA. He was something to do with the PFA as well.
Yeah.
And he was an auctioneer as well.
He threatened to kill me one night, but we won't go into that. Alan.
Well, I suppose if you've got the right shaped head, your square, oval head.
Yeah. I mean, footballers suit some people, doesn't
It suit everybody, does it? That's the main thing.
I wish I'd met you 30 years ago.
Oh, thank you.
when I started losing it.
Yeah, well, it's got a massive impact on everybody, hasn't it? 85% of all men will suffer hair loss at some stage in their life, and 60% of all women will suffer hair loss at some stage.
I was shocked when you told me that before about the women.
Yeah.
My own daughter had a bit of a problem, or both of them, two of them had.
Yeah.
Which we kindly treated them with.
Well, hair loss in the last 5 years has increased tenfold. So you see more and more people today losing.
Why would it be increasing? What would be behind that?
Many different factors. You've got genetics, general health, lifestyle, hormone fluctuations, diet, nutrition, vaccines, accidents, illness, operations. Any impact on the body will have an impact on hair growth. So this is why there's so much. I'm consistently today. Most of my work is media. It's all education.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stress, anxiety, depression for people, and you're always educating people and trying to help people and make a difference. Yeah. So it's but it brings you in all walks of life. You meet everybody. So hair loss, is
hair unites people
for every race. Any event, it doesn't matter how important you are. Any race, nobody gets away with it. So that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
So
Alan, can you tell us about how you became a footballer? How it all started? Where you come from? Sorry.
I was very fortunate, Martin. I was a happy-go-lucky young boy in Chelsea, and Chelsea was a wonderful place then. I'm sure everybody's got an area where their place was, and you kind of compare it today, and it's quite scary. But we had a great upbringing where the ball was always out, the ball was always in the street or in the cage or in the playground or whatever. And it just so happens I was lucky. I went to 3 different schools before I found the school I liked. They threw me out the first 2. I wasn't allowed in one because I passed my 11 plus, and they said I would be concentrating too much on football, so they didn't accept me. I didn't get on the next 2 schools, and then I found the school of my dreams, where the school teacher, the sports master was a chap called Tommy Tranter.
Yeah, Tommy Trinder.
Not Tommy Trinder. He went to Fulham.
Yeah, Tommy Trinder.
And it just went from there. But the thing is, what happened with me, Martin? I would have just went by the wayside like everybody else. It was just my father insisted that I made it. He'd never been so certain in it. He used to tell people, and anyone coming my life, or anyone brought up any Chelsea players, he would say, "I don't want to talk about them." He says, "You wait till my Alan grows up," and that was his comment, and he walked me through the gates at Chelsea. He walked me through the gates at Fulham. He said I was too small, and so he walked me through the gates at Stamford Bridge one night, and that was it. I was there when I was a 13-year-old, 13, 14, signed 15 in 66 a year of, the whatever happened. And that was the year I signed apprentice at Chelsea.
Right. And you made your debut in 1970?
I was in the squad I was in the youngest player ever in the squad with Tommy Dockey. I think I was about 16 and a half.
Yeah.
He took me on one trip. He insisted that I would take over from Terry Venables. He said as soon as he looked at me and see me play, he said I had you as a replacement for Terry Venables. I think that's one of the reasons he sold Terry Venables.
Right.
But he wasn't there to see me take over because he got the sack before I made pro,
Yeah. Dr. Voice will like this story. Can you tell us, which I think is one of the most iconic sort of connections or stories from the 60s and 70s about Dusty Springfield?
Dusty Springfield, yes. My uncle Ronnie Verrill was her drummer, as he was for Petula Clark as well. But
Right.
Dusty Springfield had the most extraordinary voice, and she had this. She used to learn a lot from the gospel sounds, and a lot of the songs she wrote. Say a little prayer for me. You know, she was very gospely, her voice, and she was a powerhouse of Great Britain. Her voice, it was amazing.
Alan's got a story about Dusty. Can you tell us that story, Al?
I thought you were going to say son of a preacher man there, Dr. Voice.
I did.
No,
the son. Oh yes, son of a preacher man. Yes, that's right. It should have been that. You're right, Alan.
Oh, it should have been. I picked up on that 1-0, mate.
Yeah, your Dusty story.
Yeah, I used to be very friendly with one of the through a former Chelsea colleague of mine. It was a good lad called Barry Lloyd. He played at Fulham. He managed Brighton later on. He introduced me to a lad named Frankie Allen, who took over lead singer of the Searchers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's from Mike Pender or Tony Curtis. one of those lads. And anyway, I become very friendly with Frank, and we used to go driving around down the King's Road together, going to clubs. He took me to the Chasse Club, where you'd meet Long John Baldry and all the other nutcases in there. And the main one was the drummer, the little crackpot from the Hooves, used to throw the windows out the window.
Keith Moon?
He was the one that used to live near Steve McQueen, and Steve McQueen blew his lights out one night.
Keith Moon, yeah.
Keith Moon, yeah. Well, I met him in there. It was I loved it. I loved it. That was my scene. The music scene was my scene. You know, I loved it. And anyway, Frank got together with Frank one night, and he said, "Would you like to take Dusty Springfield out?" So I said, "What's all that about?" Frank said, "No," he says, "she's looking for a date, you know." I said, "Well, what do you mean she's like that?" Anyway, well, it all come down to, I said, "Well, tell her to pick me up around I was still living in the prefabs. Tell her to meet me in a certain pub in the King's Road." Anyway, she knew where I lived, and I was waiting in the pub in the King's Road for her, and she had already been round my house, a chauffeur in a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce to pick me up. And the message was, my mum knew where I was, and the chauffeur went to the door, and I don't, to this day, I will never know what my mother said to her.
She thought she was too old for you.
So she never turned up. No, I think it's because she was going out with the girl, wasn't she, from the coloured girl?
Okay.
That was her girlfriend. But the thing that bothered me was, you know, if I'd have went out with her, I'd been frightened of that girlfriend beating me up, because she's even half a big girl.
Okay.
Well, I should know her name, and
not Madeline Bell.
They were a famous group.
Madeline Bell?
I think it was Madeline Bell.
Yeah, I think she knocked about with that crowd.
I think it was Madeline Bell.
Dr. Voice, can I ask you? You, I read online that you coach Sam Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that come about?
Well, Sam came. I had a studio over in Westfield. It's called Waterfall Studios, where I had. It was a big TV studio, where we did a lot of work for the BBC, and I had my own recording studio in there. And this young lad came in because the management had an office there. We let this management use the office. So he came in, and the management come up to me and said, "Doc, we know you teach singing. We know you, can you look after this kid?" I said, "Yeah, he was only 15. Yeah. So he came into my studio, and we just hit it off. You know, I gave him lessons. I woke his voice up to a point where he had a very nice voice, by the way, already. Yeah. But what happened is I was with me for 5 years. So... Yeah. Over those period of years, I recorded a demo album with him, which I sort of co-wrote some of the stuff and put it together for him, and got him ready so that he knows how to get out in front of. It's like prepping. Everyone, Alan, Mark, even Martin, what you do, you have to prep. Yeah. You know, if you want to be successful at anything, you have to do what we call a setup, and a setup is where you know your bag, you know what you're doing, and so to arm people with the setup is what teaching is about me. For me, really, is setting up, picking people up with a setup and say, you do this setup and you'll get somewhere. Because I often think, when I was going to ask Alan this question, just to swing it a bit, but Alan, how do you tell a football player wants to be a football player today? How do you get him out there? What setup would he need to have in order to become extraordinary out there on the field, you know? And that was what I was faced with, teaching singing. How can I get someone to become extraordinary? And that's what I did with Sam. You know, and he went off, he hit the Universal Records, and he became 5 Academy Awards.
And do you have any contact with him these days?
No, he went a bit wild.
Right.
And I did advise him on certain things that weren't good. There's a program on Amazon Prime which I'm on where it talks my life story about his life story about how I helped him. But Sam Smith's dreams come true, and basically
he was a Fulham boy, Doc, wasn't he?
No, he lives in Bedfordshire.
Did he? His father's from Fulham, I think.
His father, I think you're right. His father was from Fulham, yes.
Well, he was very good friends with my great friend Peter Millard. He was great friends with him, and he used. I remember the time when he was doing the. He said when he was doing the Bond film.
Yes.
Around that time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He had the first #1 hit. Listen to this. No one had a real big #1 hit with a Bond theme except Sam Smith. He was the only one to have a #1 hit with a Bond. I think there's Simon Le Bon, they might have got into the charts. I'm not sure it was #1, but I know that he did very well with that track because his album was out, so most of the sales, people who loved him, just bought anything he sang. So that's how it goes, isn't it?
Did you advise him on his wardrobe?
I advised him to be a bit more humble.
Right.
I think that's why we parted company. No.
I was going to say, I think he ignored you on that one.
No, he's very inventive, very creative lad. I've got to admit, he was very, very exciting to work with him. We had a laugh. I would always make him laugh because he was young, 16, 17. I remember going, making him jump and at the studio or something. Oh, we don't do that, and he'd get all upset. We'd have fun because when you're dealing with a child or someone in their younger age, you have to build blocks to get them to learn, to grow, to expand. You have to be simple in your attempts to impart knowledge that we've all garnered us. Look, it's 40 years of Alan, is it? 40 years of Mark. 40 years, isn't it? Martin, you've probably been doing this 40 years.
Feels like 40. It feels like 40.
Yeah, you don't look old enough. Yeah, that's true. So, but I've been doing it 40 years. So it's mad, isn't it? It seems to be the round figure to get to a point where you have this understanding of how to deal with humanity, or to help people, or to expand people, or to do what you do with your work, like Mark does particularly, saving lives.
Mark, tell us about the film, about the film of your life that's coming up. How did that happen? Tell us a bit about.
Well, that's quite unusual actually, because I was speaking to Doc about that sometime. We went to see this theatre in Holland Park, and we was walking across the grass together, and he said, it'd be amazing if they did a film about your life. And I thought about it, and then and somebody else said it to me a couple of years ago, and I didn't take really any much notice of it. But as I say, it's been such a colourful life, taking you all around the world, and meeting all various different types of people from all creeds of life.
Yeah.
And what's happened, recently with family and everything else, and then obviously being at the rock bottom, we've all been there, and really going to America on the TV show was the last throw of the dice, really, and then pulling it off. And then I went to see Doc one afternoon, and it was on a film set, and one of the producers actually came up to me and said, "Can I speak to you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we walked through to one of the rooms, and he was chatting to me for about an hour and a half, just talking to me. So we'd like to, basically do a film about your life and everything else. We think it's a very interesting project. And they said, well, there's three different writers that we would like to consider to write the scripts. And then just out of nowhere, I had an idea about this very good friend of mine who knows our background and our family, somebody called Martin Knight. And luckily, he pulled off an amazing script, and that's where we are today. So it's, it's been a very, very interesting journey, and I thank my mother for that. Really, it's really all down to my mother. She's very, empathetic woman and everything else like that. And over the years, we've just done so much research and development with our brand, and It's this is basically where we are. In the last few years, we've discovered one of the latest technologies, something called a frequency cell. What Doc was talking about earlier on, the first bioenergetic frequency cell. So, everything for us is really working with scientists, biophysicists, and we've got a whole load of doctors and psychologists and medical professionals behind us, and this is where we are today.
And what is your flagship? Sorry, what is your flagship?
Pardon?
What is your flagship product called?
Oh, the flagship product is called a TR3. It's basically it's a very powerful scalp activator. It's got all the authenticity.
It's a lotion.
It's a lotion you put on the scalp, and what it actually does, it maintains hair growth. It's used by thousands of men and women on a daily basis to maintain hair growth. And we've had it in the clinics for nearly 40 years, and it's also our biggest seller, and it's one of the biggest selling products on American shopping channel. So I went out there.
That was a coincidence how you bumped into the lady from the shopping channel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. There was through another friend of mine, there was a big television shopping presenter who was here, and she was losing her hair. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, I know somebody that deals with he's a hair and scalp specialist. He's a trichologist for many years." So I basically went to see her, and I gave her some scalp lotions, and over the period of 8 to 9 months, grew all her hair back. And then she was continuously phoning me up. "We want you in America. We want you in America. There's a mass market." And I was very apprehensive to go there, and eventually agreed. Jumped on a plane for 10.5 hours, went down to Austin, Texas, and they put me on a live television show watched by millions of people, and the product was the fastest selling products on the shopping channel. So I've been backwards and forwards non-stop to America. So it's been a lot of television work in the UK and in America. Done 96 shows in the last 13 months, I think it is. So it's been a lot of travelling, but it's just a nice legacy to leave behind for my mother. She wanted me to make a change, make a difference, and this is the main thing more than anything else. So she just don't like anybody suffering. Anxiety, depression, and the suicide I've seen over the years.
It's not just a legacy; it's a massive change, isn't it, for something like that?
Yeah.
It is, Alan. Over the years, I've seen the suicides, I've seen the anxieties, depression, the isolation people go into, and people do suffer. It's a taboo subject. It's very confidential. It's very secretive. People don't speak about it. If you go to see a dentist, go to my cosmetic dentist, or if you go and see a good cosmetologist, go and see my skin specialist here. Nobody talks about it. It's something everybody just sneaks off and sees an expert, and this is it. I mean, if I would tell you the amount of people that I've seen over the years, the famous people, you wouldn't believe it, but you couldn't say that because it's very confidential. And people wouldn't like it. I mean, some people give you lovely endorsements who you've seen over the years, which is lovely, but the other people you can't speak about, especially royalties and people like that. Yeah.
We're moving towards the end.
I think, as Martin said earlier on, what you've made you even more famous was in 1966, they'd have had you on the touchline next to Bobby Charlton, rubbing his hair at half time and full time and extra time.
Well, that's it. That's it.
That would have been the highlight of the World Cup, wouldn't it? Everybody's having their legs rubbed and Bobby's having his head rubbed.
Well, you've got the famous ones now that keep running off for hair transplants, the England players and people like that. They're continuously in the paper, aren't they? And, everybody, that's had hair transplants, some of the biggest football players today. They're well known. It's public knowledge, isn't it? So it's all about image and identity. The last 6 presidents of the United States of America all got a full head of hair. There's a reason for that. It's leadership, decision making, and everything else. It's all about image today. So it's very important.
I ask you a quick one, Dr. Voice?
Yeah.
You not only help teach people to sing, but do you help people with speech impediments and stuttering or things like that?
Yes, I can, because people that have, people go to laryngologists when their voice doesn't work, for instance. Right. And when they go to a laryngologist, he would advise, I've had many come to me after they've been to a laryngologist saying, I won't be able to speak ever again. I've got problems. They come to me and I get them talking in 2 hours. Right. Because it's not physical. It's psychological. The voice is psychological. You make sound. Look at a baby. Baby's what, 9 weeks old, 9 months old, or whatever, and all of a sudden the baby goes, starts making sound. That's natural. That's inside. That's not necessarily physical. It's just a flow coming straight from that baby. So people have lost the art of communication, and so what they do, the muscles atrophy, they go to doctors and medical people to get their voice back, and it's not that, it's actually using the voice in a particular way that brings your voice back, not medical.
No, I understand.
I tell you, Mark,
go on.
Before you go any further, Doc, let me ask you something else. Doctor, when I used to know a lady called Betty Shine.
Yeah.
And has he disappeared?
No, I'm here.
Are you here? And I met with Betty once. I had lunch with her. She was the one that when I was in a coma, she got in touch with me through my family and burst a blood clot in my brain before the doctors could do it. I became very close to her before she died. I wanted to get closer. She was a very fascinating lady, Betty Shine. She was well known all over the world. And anyway, I had lunch with her at Knightsbridge one day. She did a book signing at Harrods, and I sat down with her, and she told me a bit about her life, and she come across people she knew, and she mentioned Michael Crawford. And I knew Michael Crawford because he became a bit of a Chelsea supporter, and he was a lovely man. He was doing this show with Betty and all that, and she said to me, I'm very, very annoyed with Michael Crawford. And I said, what's all this about? So she said, well, he phoned me from New York. He was doing the Phantom at the time. Oh. He phoned me from New York and said, I've got a terrible problem. I've got a show tonight and I can't sing. So what am I going to do? So she said to him, whatever you do, just rest all afternoon. Don't do anything. Go on stage tonight and everything will be okay. Said, when you get off stage, the reason she told me about Michael, she was very annoyed with him. She said, I'm very annoyed with your friend. Anyway, it turns out that he did the show. It got rave reviews, and he never got back to thank her. Oh. So that's why she had the hump with him. But how would that happen? Can you say anything about that? I mean, Betty Shine's a healer.
Yeah. Sometimes she probably would have helped him, but don't forget, people don't necessarily acknowledge people that have helped them, because what they do, you get the information. He probably got the information from her, then went off and thought, I better do some, and he probably did a little bit of technique on his voice before he went on stage without her knowing or anyone else knowing, and he probably believes it's that technique he did before he went on stage. Are you with me? Because
I'm with you, but I doubt that very much. I believe they did everything that said. She said, just don't do that, because she told me other things that are real, and
it's a sad fact. Look, Sam Smith never thanked me for helping him on his journey. So, you don't, I tell you what it is. It's like when you're at school and you're learning how to do mathematics, say. Then later on you become like Stephen Hawking. You've got this amazing mathematic brain. Because you've worked in mathematics, you just take it for granted he was the school teacher that happened to be there. You're not going to make a big thing of that one person that made you, because there's lots of different areas in your life that make you become more aware of what you're doing. Yeah. So you can't put it down to one person. She was just probably one lottery ball in order for him to get out in front of that audience and do it that night. It was probably his own gumption as well. You don't know. And so he wouldn't actually feel he owed a thank you necessarily. And that's how most people are.
Well, she was trying to call him a mean son of a bitch. That's
that's all right. Well, that's called expectation. I've learned one thing in my life: do not have expectation or disappointment, because it makes you disappointed.
On that note, I'm going to have to wrap up. But before we go, what does each of us think? Who do each of us think is going to win the World Cup?
Oh, England.
England, Mark?
Yeah, most certainly England. You got biggest World Cup ever.
Who do you want to win it? Alan?
England.
Alan?
I'm stuck between Portugal. I'm going to stick my neck out Portugal.
And how far do you think England will go?
They'll get through the group like always. I think what happened the other night, there was a bit of a smoke screen. I think too many people were getting excited over the result the other night. And probably because it was a little bit of their best performance for a long time, especially under a new manager. But you won't see that. You won't see that happen again. The stakes go up now once they get out the groups. Yeah. The stakes get higher. This is going to be the toughest World Cup ever to win.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is.
Some of these countries in it now, these black countries, I've played against them since I was 17 years of age. I've said forever that one day they'll come to the fore, and they've just improved. They're big, strong, powerful countries, and they're getting big results at the moment. Stopping teams from winning, and they won't stop till they will go right to the end. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a right turnover this year.
Oh, we'll see. All right then. Well, on that note, mine's England, by the way. On that note,
well, you did 3 against 1. You would say England, wouldn't you? You've all gone against me.
All against the football player. All against the football player.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you, lads.
Okay, lovely.
See you later.
All the best.
Thank you.
Take care.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you, Alan. Take care. Thank you, Martin. See you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Big city life, me try to get by. Pressure not ease up no matter how hard me try.